You can look at that later if you want. But we saw the Rambam define 3 types of friendship. Friendship for utility, friendship for
benefit,
friendship
for the pleasure,
and friendship for benefit was the first kind. Pleasure is the second kind, where there was 2 types: physical pleasure and pleasure of companionship, of sharing with a good friend. And the third type was friend for virtue. Friend for virtue. Because you have a common goal that your friend helps you achieve. And you can discuss with him. I guess we could call it a chavruta nowadays. All right, so today we're going to continue studying with the Rambam's attitude towards friendship from the third part of Moreh Nevuchim. It's one of the last chapters of the Moreh Nevuchim, chapter 49. As you can see, it says on the top of the page, Guide Part 3. Do we see that? Guide Part 3 on top of the page? The precepts of the 14th class. Okay, so he divides all the different mitzvot in the Torah into various classes, and he tries to explain them. All right? Eli Melech, maybe you'll read for us. The precepts.
The 14th cluster are those which we enumerated in the section of women, those concerning forbidden sexual intercourse and crossbreeding of cattle, separation of the issue beyond what concerning circumcisions belongs also to this class. The general purpose of these precepts has already been described by us. We will not proceed to explain that. It's well known that man requires friends all his lifetime. Aristotle explained this is the 9th book of his Nicomachean Ethics. Where man is in good health and prospers, he enjoys the company of his friends. In time of trouble, he is in need of them. In old age, when his body is weak, he is assisted by them. His love is more frequent and more intense between parents and children, and among other relations. Perfect love, brotherhood, and mutual assistance is only found among those near to each other by relationships. A member of a family, united by common descent from the same grandfather, or even from some more distant ancestor, have towards each other a set of feeling of love, help each other, and sympathize with each other. To effect this is one of the chief purposes of the law.
Okay, so very interesting. He says that there are friendships in all different contexts. And we find, he says that family is even more important. Family is more frequent and more intense than friendships which are not family. Of course, there's always exceptions, but on the whole, I remember, there's a big debate. What is Judaism? Is it a religion? Is it a race? Is it a people? It's very hard to define. It's sort of unique among religions, and it's unique among races because we have conversion. Is it ethnicity? But we have Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardi Jews. So, what exactly is Judaism? And I think Rabbi Steinsaltz, among others, he responds, and I think his student, in some ways, Rabbi Sachs, he follows in his pathway, and he says, more than anything else, the best definition of the Jewish people is a family. A family. He says family, we spoke about it a number of weeks ago when we spoke about brotherhood, but a family is sort of like built-in friends. Friends, we talked about last week that there's 3 types of friends: friends for benefit, friends for pleasure, and friends for virtue. Well, what is it about family that would make these types of relationships, parents and children, siblings, sons, cousins even, distant relatives, what about family would make it more amenable for these types of friendships? And which type of friendship do you think this would that this would foster, a family relationship would foster which type of friendship of the Rambam?
Benefits, I think.
Benefits. How do you figure?
Because, it's not, I don't know why, but because it seems like, because your family, you have to be for each other. It's like,
Right.
your family, you have to help me. You know?
Yeah,
They
sure.
don't help you like, okay, I need 1,000 shekels. It's not like
Why not? Yes. I mean, 1,000 shekel, what?
But you expect always from, hey, your family, your cousins.
Right. Okay, so there's benefit. Definitely you're going to help them out. They'll, like we said, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, type of thing. So family is sort of built in. That's what's going to happen. Beyond that, anybody else? Any thoughts about family and friendship?
What's the other the benefits and the other two?
Pleasure and virtue.
Virtue is, how you can say virtue, like?
Virtue is like ideals, values.
Family, and also like virtue, because family ideals.
Usually it comes together. Usually a certain family, there's a cultural context. There's a family ethic. We're the type of people that I don't know, give to the poor. We're the type of it's a family tradition that we always have another value of going to the church. I mean, you do it because you're part of the family. It's the family religion. So there's, let alone speaking about belief in God, many of these things are passed down in families. And so if you're a family member, it makes sense that, so your brother sees you, hey, you haven't been to shul last week. What happened? Or, in the family WhatsApp group, they're going to raise money for a certain cause that you're involved in. So you give more to the people that you know than you do to someone asks you for tzedakah who's not part of your family. Obviously, you're going to give to your family member more so than somebody, even though sometimes you're giving them just because it's family, not so much because of the ideal, but many times it influences each other. In other words, the family is a good context for having this friendship of virtue, where you're going to strengthen each other in the ethic, whatever it happens to be. And even when it comes to the middle kind, friendship of benefit, we say, not benefit, of pleasure. Pleasure. What were the types of pleasure the Rambam mentioned? This was last week. Who remembers? What was the type of, I think you weren't here. But here's the page from last week, so you can review. Whoever wasn't here last week can have the page from last week. You too, Shmuel? Well, yeah, so family, to have companionship, we said, it's like you could have someone you can share with, your best friends. We brought the example of Chira, the friend of Yehuda, who he could share with him even when he was doing things which are not he wasn't so proud of, right? Going to the prostitute and paying her, and he used his friend to do that. So a friend, so sometimes a brother, you grow up together, you become friends, you become able to share with each other, you have common experiences, and so you can share that. And so it's almost like a natural built-in system for creating friends, family. Okay? So far, this is what we read up till now. Eli Melech started us off. And then, believe it or not, as you can see, that this section is not really talking about friends. It's about circumcision. He wants to put it together with all the other mitzvot, which really have no rationale. Many forbidden sexual intercourse, crossbreeding of cattle. What's wrong with crossbreeding cattle? It's like a chok, we call it in Hebrew. It's a mitzvah that doesn't have a rational reason. Why is he throwing in circumcision here? Well, let's take a look. He writes about it. And he says as follows. Okay, Yossi, want to read as regards circumcision? We're on about 10 lines from the top of the page.
Yep. As regards circumcision, I think that one of its object is to limit sexual intercourse and to weaken the organ of generation as far as possible, and thus cause men to be moderate.
Okay, this is the Rambam's opinion that somehow circumcision limits the drive, the sex drive, and which of course we know it can do some very good things. It could also cause people overboard and astray and let loose sexually in the wrong frameworks. And the Rambam says circumcision is a message to us. Maybe it's even, I think he understood it, that it's actually a physical feature. I don't know if that's true according to modern science, but the Rambam felt that there needs to be moderated. The sexual drive, and that's one reason for circumcision, which we're not going to talk about more. As I said, just in brief, clearly the sex drive can get you into trouble. That's for sure. And if you're the Rambam who wants you to be an intellectual, focused on development of your mind and the spirit, it's clear how that can get in the way. And so circumcision maybe should lower that part of your animalistic desires. But there's a second reason. There is, however, go ahead.
There is, however, another important object in this commandment. It gives to all members of the same faith, for example, to all the believers in the unity of Hashem, a common bodily sign, so that it is impossible for anyone that is a stranger to say that he belongs to them. For sometimes people say so for the purpose of obtaining some advantage, or in order to make some attack upon the Jews. No one, however, should circumcise himself or his son for any other reason but pure faith. For circumcision is not like an incision on the leg or a burning in the arm, but a very difficult operation. It is also a fact that there is much mutual love and assistance among people that are united by the same sign, when they consider it as the symbol of a covenant. Circumcision is likewise a symbol of the covenant which Abraham made in connection with the belief in Hashem's unity. So also everyone that is circumcised enters the covenant of Abraham to believe in the unity of Hashem, in accordance with the words of the law, to be a Hashem unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. This purpose of the circumcision is as important as the first, and perhaps more important.
Fascinating. So essentially, the way I read the Rambam, I understand what he's saying is that this is the Brit covenant creates a group which are the third type of friends, right? A friend for virtue. You have at the core of every male Jew, at least, has a symbol that you believe in a common ideal, common value, and that's a very powerful thing. Family is one way, and Brit Milah is another way. The things that bolster this ideal, highest level of friendship, family on all levels, it can be conducive to different types of friendships. But specifically, the highest level of friendship, which the Rambam said we must acquire, Kaneh lecha chaver, that was what we read last week. And the Rambam, acquire for yourself a friend. You must make efforts to acquire a friend. Put in lots of effort into making that happen. And he said, primarily it's referring to the highest type of friendship, the friendship of a virtue, because then they'll make you a better person, you'll make them a better person, you both push each other forward in your values in your life, in the way you want to live your life. And here, when he speaks about circumcision, I hear the same idea. In other words, there's much mutual love and assistance among people that are united by the same sign when it's a symbol of the covenant. In other words, maybe you will be more friendly to, not only to your family members, even when it comes to friends of benefit, even the lowest level of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You want to care for them. Like I said, perhaps the entire Jewish people is like one large family. And what makes us so, in the Rambam's description now, is that's one reason for the circumcision. Circumcision is almost like we're blood brothers, or we're one family. We all have this common covenant. It didn't have to be physical symbol in the body, but it definitely is. Hashem told us to make it that. We're trying to make some sense of it. Why? What does that do? So it's a sign that you believe in there's one God who told Abraham to commit And he started the Jewish people, which are committed to ethical monotheism, if you want to describe it that way. So this is a beautiful passage, which in some way strengthens what we were talking before about the friendship of virtue being having a common goal, common ideal, common value. Okay? Common virtue. The place where the Rambam describes more about friendship, in many varied ways, is in Hilchot Deot. Hilchot Deot is part of the Mishnah Torah. Right up till now, we learned last week from the Perush Mishnayot of the Rambam, the commentary on the Mishnah, on Masachet Avot. In two different places we spoke about it. And today we read from the guide, Moreh Nevuchim, Guide for the Perplexed. His major work, no question, was his magnum opus, the Mishnah Torah. 14 books of Yad, 14, Yad, Yud and Daled, Yad HaChazakah, Yad HaChazakah of the Rambam. And the Rambam divided up all of the Jewish tradition into a new classification system. 14 books, no longer 6. Although he patterned it very much after the 6. You can see how one of the books of the 6 orders of the Mishnah got one book of the Mishnah Torah. Another one got 2 books. And another one got 4 books. But the classic structure of the different areas of Torah the work was started by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi when he put together the 6 categories of the Torah. In any case, the Rambam, in his first category, we have the books here, the blue volumes on the top, it's beautiful. The first of the 14 books is called Sefer Amada, Book of Knowledge, it's usually translated. Book of Knowledge starts off with Yesodei HaTorah, the fundamentals of Torah. And then it goes on to talk about where he talks about belief in God. Right here, this is an example of 14 books. And Sefer Amada, Aleph, the first book. In Sefer Amada, we have the laws of the fundamentals of the Torah, and then the laws of Talmud Torah, what a fundamental, basic part of the Jewish practice and faith, the laws of Avodah Zarah, and the laws of Tshuva. But smack in the middle there, right after the fundamentals of the Torah, is a new creation that the Rambam made. Also, Hilchot Tshuva never existed before. There's no Masechet to Tshuva in the Shas, in the Mishnah. Second innovation of the Rambam is Hilchot Deot. Deot. That's what you have in front of you. Only chapter 6 and 7 we're going to look at. But Hilchot Deot, actually, people mistakenly call it the book of knowledge. It's not really about knowledge. Deot actually is more about proper behavior. It's much more behavior oriented than it is intellectual. Deot, the proper deot is the proper way you should conduct yourself. And in the section of Hilchot Deot, Rambam collected all the different halachot which have to do with friends, with how we relate to each other. So it's a good place to start for a text about friendship. What mitzvot ben adam lechavero? So the laws of stealing, that's a whole larger section. Later on in the category where he talks about legal stuff with court system and the laws of paying your worker on time. Well, that's personal, interpersonal. But that's for the more legal section of the book. What do we have here in Hilchot Deot? We have some laws, some of the 630 commands, which are less monetary, less monetized, and perhaps they're almost like the ritual mitzvot, the mitzvot which are between man and God, or the mitzvot that are clearly defined by the Torah that we must, like we said, love your neighbor as yourself, comes here in Hilchot Deot. The prohibition against Lashon Hara, it's here in Hilchot Deot. Right? There's a lot of mitzvot. We're going to see them one by one. We'll see how it's a way of, it's sort of like the laws of friendship. The laws of Ben Adam L'Chavero, here in the 6th and 7th chapter of Hilchot Deot. So without further ado, let's begin. And we're not going to finish it all today, of course, but we have, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll start today. Most of chapter 6 is on this page. Let's start with the first passage. Fortunately, in the printing, the numbering system of the paragraphs got taken away, but we'll manage. Okay, Eob, you want to read for us Hilchot Deot, chapter 6?
Hilchot Deot, chapter 6. It is natural for a man's character and his actions to be influenced by his friends and associates, and for him to follow the local norms of behavior. Therefore, he should associate with the righteous and be constantly in the company of the wise, so as to learn from their deeds. Conversely, he should keep away from the wicked who walks in darkness, so as not to learn from their deeds.
Okay, so very so straightforward. Choose your friends well, because your friends will influence the way you act, the way you think. Man's character and actions will be influenced. It's natural. It's just the way we work. Can you choose?
Yes.
You can choose. Therefore, he should associate with the righteous and be constantly. The one thing you can't choose, right? You say you can't choose your family. Or your roommate. There you go. If you're having trouble, you can actually move to. Your roommates are great, but.
I think he's looking at me.
Right. But if you can choose, you should choose, and choose well, because it makes an impact on you. Here, he's going in the other direction, right? We've been talking about you should have a friend, and how it's going to help you. A friend could also turn you away. The wicked could turn you away. A friend is a bad influence on you. But ultimately, he says we accept that there is influence, and therefore you should associate with the righteous, be constantly in the company of the wise. Machon Meir, everybody's here. Beautiful thing I said the other day. Someone here told me, when someone here insults me, or hurts me, injures me in some way, I'm very forgiving to him. You know why?
Because no one does.
Yeah, so what? So he's learning Machon Meir. So what?
It's not gonna hurt him.
So what?
It's not gonna hurt him.
He is going to hurt him. He hurt me.
Oh, someone did hurt him.
Someone hurt me, yeah, but I'm forgiving.
He's trying to.
Why? That's right. He's here because he's trying to learn. He's trying to grow. If he were, it's like you go to the gym and you see the fat guy. No offense to anybody fat, but someone who's really not, he's not very good at it. So do you look down at him? You should. Amazing! He's doing exactly what he should do. He's trying to work on it. He's trying to go to you see the fat guy sitting eating ice cream in the park. Then you could maybe say, well, listen, this guy's not taking care of himself. But this guy's going to the gym. He wants to work on himself. So, all right, he's not perfect yet. I'm not perfect yet either. So too my friend in Machon Meir. He hurt me. He's not perfect, but he's working on it. Maybe he needs to go to a different class about relationships to work on it, and not to a class about the laws of Shabbat. But we try to work on all things. You can't get everything in one day. But it's a process of working on yourself. And so you're in good company. And now it's true, this is about Shuvah Yeshiva. It doesn't mean that everybody comes in. The next day, he's going to have all his sharp edges, rounded and softened. And some people do have some history or didn't grow up with the right influences. And so you have, and especially here, we have from different countries, different cultures. We have all kinds of clashes. Stukodia, put it up for all different styles. So we have to be aware of that. But in the end of the day, people they're striving for the right thing. So that's why you're better off here than you are somewhere else. Hopefully you'll learn from the good people who are already further on, and you could tell who to learn for. But you gotta, if you do have a bad room or something like that, you can switch rooms. Yeah, by all means, if
There's something we should share.
Things are coming up here between roommates. We should we do some group therapy here? Not now. Okay. All right. Eitan, you read for us. This is implied.
This is implied by Solomon's statements. Who walks with the wise will become wise. The one who associates with fools will suffer. Similarly, states, happy is the man who has not followed the advice of the wicked.
Who states?
Psalms, Tehillim,
1:1. You guys should know Psalms 1:1. The first one. The first beginning. Chapter 1, verse 1. Ashrei haish asher lo halach b'atzat rashaim ובדרך חטאים לא עמד. מושב ליצים לא ישב.
I know it in Holland.
You know it in Dutch. Okay, great.
Rabbi, question: how are we going to know if one will influence one?
It's natural. He starts off with saying it's natural. A man's character and actions will be influenced by his friends.
Kash v'shalom. Let's say there's like a very righteous person and there's like a very wicked person. How are we going to say that one will blend to another one? Like, what if the righteous will be influenced with
That's
the wicked?
true. It's true, right? Right. Usually it goes in both directions, but you're taking a chance. Obviously, Rambam here is looking out for number one. I want to take care of myself. I don't want to be influenced by others. I'm assuming that even though sometimes we hope, I want to be with the wicked because I want them to learn from me. It's dangerous. Dangerous. Maybe they will learn from me and I'll teach them. Maybe I'll learn from them. So that's a difficult thing.
There's a saying in my language, even the rock, which is near the jasmine tree, it has the aroma of jasmine.
Nice, very nice. Yeah. So somebody who works in a flower store, in a floral shop, he leaves at the end of the day smelling nice, right? You don't own the flowers, but something rubs off. We know literally smells rub off. It's actually physical cells, but the idea is that there is influence. There's influence. We have to be aware of it. Now, of course, if we just follow the Rambams, looking out for number one, I don't want to associate with the wicked. You know what we'd have here in Machon Meir? Not that anybody's wicked, but I'm just saying, people who are, who need to improve and need to grow, they would have no teachers. The teachers wouldn't want to associate with them because maybe they pick up the bad habits from the people who are not unrefined. So obviously, I think it's different when you're a teacher, when you explicitly have a role. Right, those Chabad shlichim all around the world, administering to people who don't know anything about Judaism. Do they lose their faith? Do they? Very rare that the kids go off the derech because they're so busy. The theory is they're so busy that giving, they have no time to take. And in an ideal world, that's true, but obviously, practically, there are always complications. But in principle, we should know that we're going to be influenced by those who we associate with. And if you're not specifically going to teach or going to if you're just choosing your friends, who to hang out with, so then you want to choose to be friends with the more people who you, by your estimation, nobody knows for sure, but by your estimation, they're of higher quality, and they're going to be friends of virtue, like we said in the previous passage. Hopefully, you won't be giving them a test. Drop your pants. Are you a member of the covenant? Right? Do you have a Brit Milah? That was what the Rambam said, that last passage, right? The Brit Milah says, we're going to be friends of virtue. We have a common goal. So we don't do that. We can't know for sure. But the concept is that associate with people that are going to bring you up and not people that are going to bring you down. Okay? Okay, so Shmuel, you read the next paragraph, please.
A person who lives in a place where the norms of behavior are evil and the inhabitants do not follow the straight path should move to a place where the people are righteous and follow the ways of good.
Okay, go ahead.
If all the places with which he is familiar and of which he hears reports follow in proper paths, as in our times, or if he is unable to move to a place where the patterns of behavior are proper because of the presence of bands of raiding troops or for health reasons, he should remain alone in seclusion. As Eicha 328 states, let him sit alone and be silent.
Wow, extreme. Go into seclusion. If you don't have a good cohort of friends, if your community, if your society is really bad news, you should leave. And even if it means having no friends, better no friends than bad friends. But wait, go ahead. One more paragraph.
If they are wicked and sinful and do not allow him to reside there unless he mingle with them and follow their evil behavior, he should go out to caves, thickets, and deserts rather than follow the paths of sinners. As Jeremiah 9:1 states, who will give me a lodging place for wayfarers in the desert?
Wow, okay, so if you're in town, they don't let you stay at home. And they don't let you do your own thing. It could be that people are just so social, and that's the style, that's the group. It's a summer camp. They're going to pull you in to be with them. You can't be on your own. Nowadays, the society is very very adapted, so that people are very much alone on purpose. And the ethic is live and let live, and you could live in the same building with someone and never say hello to them for 100 years. So this is but it could be that you're in a different context, and they won't let you just be by yourself, and they're gonna. What's the choice? The only choice is go live by yourself in the desert. Go be a hermit. Go be a hermit. Better than having bad influence of the community. Pretty extreme. Yes.
When I have like a friend I wanna be with,
Yes.
but he hangs out with another one that I really don't like.
Yeah.
What should I do?
It's complicated. It's a good question, right? It's like you'd think everybody wears, the good guys wear the white shirts and the bad guys wear the black shirts. It doesn't really work that way. He's talking about you? Okay, fine.
Because we're in the same.
I know, I got the joke. It's fine. But yeah, so if you can do something about it, you have some influence. Great. If you can, say let's go hang out with someone else today, or so then that's better. But if you can't influence them, then you. It's not just a question of you like them or don't like them. He's talking about that they're going to have a bad influence on you. We can see that sometimes you're forced to be in a situation, like in the army, put in a unit, and the people are swearing. You're going to get jaded. Your sensitivity to swearing is really, it hurts. And so what do we have now in the army? Who's going to go into the army soon? Soon, at the right time. So we have units where all the soldiers come from religious background, from yeshiva background. And so you won't be influenced to start swearing. Even though, some of these units, it's not hermetic. You're part of the larger system, and you have communication, and you do exercises together with other units. Nothing's hermetic 100%. We see people being influenced a lot when they're in the army. Even though they don't want to, they go in, they hope to be religious and to stick to their values and their style of living, their style of speech. Very quickly. I've even seen in some people, their posture changes. There's a certain way you stand when your commander stands in front of you every day. You have to listen to him. you slowly pick up the body language of the commander. Now, if the commander's a good guy, great. If the commander's maybe doesn't have the same type of humility that you're used to from your rabbis or your parents. And if the language they use is coarse, may forget about the issue of Lashon Hara, speaking about other people, which is common in many, many circles. So there are so many influences that you have to be aware of. And you're right, it's a good question, Gabi. No society is super clean. Like, you go into a factory that makes chips, electronics, you put on a suit. It's a clean room, right? No germs can come in. Right? We don't have that. Real life is messy. There's people of all different types, with all different types of attitudes and styles of speech, of action, of language, and we're part of the regular society. Some people build fences and create bubbles more and more, not to be influenced by those others. But even that, in the world we live in, it's very hard to do. But first of all, learning about this, I think, even if you can't put it into practice, and I'm not thinking that anybody here is going to go now pitch a tent on a hilltop, hopefully you won't have to, but it's not really a question of putting it into practice word for word. But the awareness that this is an issue, that you're influenced by people around you, I think is very, very telling, very important. And it's an extension of what we were saying before about the friends of virtue. The opposite of friends of virtue are friends of anti-virtue, right? Or association with groups which will bring you down. Last word, yeah.
I think we can, let's say, we can see the good in everyone, but let's say some people are, when I get really close to them, I see that it's not so good for me.
Right.
So let's say I try to be close, but not too close, where I can see the good part of the people, but that if I get closer, it won't annoy me.
I hear you. Yeah, that you could do that as well. There's definitely allow yourself to be closer and open up more and be intensify a friendship, or sort of leave it a little standoffish, and that's definitely a very important technique to develop and to know your boundaries and to know where you want to invest more and where you want to invest less. Some friendships are just going to be a casual hello, how are you? I say hello, that's it. I don't have too much to do with you. But the circumstances, you have to be there. That's sometimes the best you can do. Ultimately, it's natural to develop friendships, and you want to have those friendships. That's what we spoke about last week. But you need to have. It takes two to tango, as they say. Right? You need to have somebody to have that healthy, good, positive relationship with, and that's not always possible. So to the extreme, the Rambam says you've got to be so aware of this influence that you should be willing, if necessary, to go ahead and live in the desert. Leave society totally. Even though it's unnatural. He started off saying it's natural to be in society. Sometimes it's more important for you to take care of your religious and your moral behavior, and the influences on you. It's very, very important. Seder. So we'll stop here for today. We'll continue. If you want to keep the pages, you can. If not, bring it back to me. I'll make sure we have enough for next week. And we'll continue learning the laws of Deot in the Rambam.